Have you ever found yourself standing in front of the fridge, wondering what you should eat? Something that tastes good, keeps you energized, and actually supports your health. Yeah, me too. Especially after turning 50, when my body started sending me little reminders that I couldn't just eat like I did in my 20s and expect to feel great afterward. Suddenly, greasy takeout hit harder. Skipping meals left me foggy. And sugar? Well, that sweet stuff started having a not-so-sweet effect on my energy, my sleep, and even my mood. That's when I started getting curious, not just about what to eat, but how to make every bite really count. Not in a strict, joyless way, but in a mindful, feel-good, nourishing way. And let me tell you, the difference it made, wow. I didn't just lose a few pounds or get better sleep. I felt clearer, more steady, and honestly, more in control of my day. So in this video, I'm taking you through what I eat in a day, real food, real choices, and real-life strategies that work, especially if you're over 50 and looking to age with strength, clarity, and joy. We'll talk about what I eat from morning to night, and more importantly, why. I'll share some small changes that made a big difference, how I manage cravings, and how I build meals that support energy, digestion, and brain health. You might even pick up a few tricks you haven't tried before. Before we keep going, I'd love your help with something. If you're enjoying this video so far, comment Y below. If not, comment N. It helps me know what's working and what to improve. And don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Now let's dive deeper. Let's start with mornings, because how we begin the day often sets the tone for everything else. Now, I used to be one of those just coffee kind of people. A splash of cream, maybe a biscuit, and I'd call it breakfast. But over time, I noticed a pattern. I'd crash hard by 10 a.m., feel irritable, and reach for a sugary snack. Sound familiar? So I began experimenting with a more balanced start. These days, I lean into what I call a power breakfast. Think of it like fuel that burns clean and steady. Here's an example: steel-cut oats, cooked slowly until tender, topped with a small handful of walnuts, chia seeds, and fresh berries. Sometimes I'll add a spoonful of almond butter or a sprinkle of cinnamon. It's delicious, satisfying, and packed with fiber, protein, and healthy fats. And here's the science behind it. According to Harvard School of Public Health, a fiber-rich breakfast can reduce spikes in blood sugar, help regulate cholesterol, and keep digestion moving smoothly. That's especially important after 50, when metabolism naturally slows and insulin sensitivity can start to decrease. Now, if I'm in a rush, I'll blend up a smoothie instead: spinach, frozen berries, a scoop of plant-based protein, a splash of unsweetened almond milk, and half a banana. Sometimes I throw in flaxseed or a dash of turmeric for a little anti-inflammatory boost. What I avoid in the morning now: sugary cereals, white toast, or anything that makes me crash an hour later. I've learned that starting with real food, not processed food, makes a big difference in how I think, move, and even relate to people throughout the day. But eating well isn't just about the food, it's also about how you eat. I used to scarf breakfast down while checking emails or rushing out the door. Now I try to sit down, take a breath, and be present with my meal, even if it's just for 10 minutes. It's like giving your body and brain permission to receive nourishment, not just calories. I remember talking to a friend who started doing this, just slowing down during meals. She told me, "It's like I'm actually tasting my food again. I feel more satisfied and less snacky during the day." There's actually science behind that too. Mindful eating has been shown to reduce overeating and increase satisfaction, according to research from the University of California. Mid-morning, if I'm feeling hungry again, I might grab a boiled egg or a few almonds, something simple, with protein and healthy fat to keep my blood sugar stable. The trick is learning to recognize the difference between true hunger and just a craving out of habit or stress. It's not about perfection, it's about tuning in. And that's really the heart of this whole journey. Learning to listen to your body with a little more kindness and a lot less judgment. Next, we'll get into what lunch and afternoon snacks look like. How to build meals that support energy and digestion without that heavy, sluggish feeling. And I'll show you one surprising food that helped me beat brain fog and feel sharper during the day. Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. This video is for informational purposes only and is based on publicly available research. Everyone's health is different, so always consult your doctor or a qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your lifestyle, diet, or exercise routine. Scientific knowledge is always evolving, and what works for one person may not work for another. So let's pick up where we left off, right around lunchtime. This used to be the trickiest meal of the day for me. I'd either skip it entirely because I was too busy, or I'd grab something quick and heavy, like a sandwich with chips or reheated leftovers, and then wonder why I felt like taking a nap by 2 p.m. But now, I look at lunch as a way to refuel my energy without weighing me down. It's got to be satisfying, light enough to avoid that post-meal slump, and packed with nutrients that support everything from my digestion to my brain. One of my go-to lunches is a big, colorful salad, romaine or mixed greens, cherry tomatoes, cucumber, avocado, and some kind of protein. That could be grilled chicken, canned salmon, or even lentils or chickpeas if I'm leaning plant-based. I drizzle it with olive oil and lemon juice or a homemade yogurt-based dressing. And here's the key: I don't shy away from healthy fats. Avocado, olive oil, nuts, these actually help me feel full and keep my blood sugar stable, which is crucial as we get older. There's plenty of research to back this up too. The Mediterranean diet, which is rich in vegetables, legumes, olive oil, and lean protein, has been shown to reduce the risk of heart disease, cognitive decline, and even depression. A study published in the New England Journal of Medicine found that people over 55 who followed this style of eating had significantly better outcomes in heart health compared to those on a low-fat diet. And it's not just about the what, it's also about the why. I know someone in her 60s who started eating this way just to improve digestion. She had been dealing with bloating and stomach discomfort for years. After switching to lighter lunches with more fiber and fewer processed carbs, she told me, "I feel like my whole system is calmer now." It was such a simple shift, but it made a huge difference for her comfort and confidence. Now sometimes I get cravings in the afternoon, especially if I've had a long walk or a busy day. Instead of reaching for cookies or something sugary, which I used to do without thinking, I now go for something like apple slices with almond butter or a small bowl of Greek yogurt with cinnamon and a few sunflower seeds. These snacks aren't just filling, they also give my body something it can actually use. The trick is balance: protein, fiber, and a little fat. When those three are in the mix, cravings tend to disappear on their own. There's a scientific reason for that too. When you eat a balanced snack, your blood sugar stays more even, which helps regulate your hunger hormones. Ghrelin, the hunger hormone, and leptin, the fullness hormone, respond more predictably, which means you're less likely to crash or overeat later on. One thing I've become more mindful of is hydration. A lot of the time we think we're hungry, but we're really just a little dehydrated. So before I reach for a snack, I drink a glass of water or some warm herbal tea. Ginger and peppermint are two of my favorites. They help with digestion and calm the nervous system too. And can we talk about digestion for a second? Because after 50, it can change in subtle ways. Slower transit time, a bit more sensitivity to certain foods. It's all normal, but it's something we need to pay attention to. That's why I've become a big fan of fermented foods like sauerkraut, kefir, and even a spoonful of miso in hot water. These natural probiotics can help support gut health, and studies show a healthy gut is directly linked to better mood and mental clarity. There's a story I'll never forget: a gentleman I met at a community health event. He was in his early 70s, sharp as a tack, and absolutely full of energy. When I asked him his secret, he said, "I treat my gut like a garden. I feed it what it needs to grow well." That stuck with me. Every bite you take can either nourish or deplete your system. And over time, those little choices add up in a big way. So here's a quick tip I started using after hearing that. I aim to eat the rainbow. Not all at once, but over the course of the day. Different colors in fruits and vegetables offer different phytonutrients. Those are the plant compounds that fight inflammation, support immunity, and even help protect against certain diseases. It doesn't have to be complicated. A handful of blueberries, some red bell pepper slices, spinach in your smoothie. They all count. As the afternoon winds down, I keep my meals light but intentional. I think of food now less as good or bad, and more as helpful or not helpful for how I want to feel. In the next part, I'll walk you through what my dinners look like, how I avoid overeating at night, what I do to sleep better, and the one surprising trick that actually helped reduce my joint stiffness in the mornings. You don't want to miss it. Dinner used to be the most chaotic meal of my day. I'd be tired, hungry, and honestly, not in the mood to cook something elaborate. Sound familiar? There were nights I'd just open the fridge, grab leftovers, or snack until I was full. And the next morning, I'd wake up feeling heavy and stiff. That's when I started making small but meaningful changes to how I approached dinner. I realized that the evening meal isn't just about ending the day. It actually sets the tone for how well I'll sleep and how I'll feel when I wake up. Now, I aim for a dinner that's warm, simple, and easy to digest. For me, that often means a piece of baked salmon or grilled tofu, some steamed or roasted veggies, like carrots, broccoli, or zucchini, and a small serving of quinoa, sweet potato, or brown rice. I keep the portions smaller than lunch, and I make sure the meal is rich in magnesium, fiber, and protein but low in heavy fats or sugar. Here's why that matters. As we get older, our metabolism naturally slows down, and our body doesn't process food quite as efficiently late at night. If we eat large or high-sugar meals close to bedtime, our blood sugar can spike and crash, interfering with melatonin production, the hormone that helps us sleep. A study in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine even showed that people who ate heavy meals high in saturated fats and sugar had more fragmented sleep and spent less time in deep, restorative rest. So when I made this change, eating earlier, choosing calming foods like leafy greens, turkey, or a bit of banana for dessert, I noticed two big things. First, I started sleeping better. And second, my joints felt less stiff in the mornings. Less tossing and turning, more waking up refreshed. I know someone, let's call her Linda, who's 68 and had struggled with arthritis for years. She didn't want to take more medication, so she looked into anti-inflammatory diets. She started by cutting back on processed foods, added sugars, and red meats at dinner. Instead, she focused on fatty fish, turmeric tea, and lots of green veggies. After a couple of months, her morning stiffness improved dramatically, and she said she felt younger just from changing how she ate in the evenings. It's amazing how our bodies respond when we give them what they need and stop overloading them before bedtime. Of course, dinner isn't the only challenge. One of the toughest habits to change, especially after 50, is late-night snacking. That little bowl of ice cream or a few crackers while watching TV can sneak into your routine without you realizing it. Trust me, I've been there. But here's what helped me break that cycle. I started making an evening ritual. Around 7 or 7:30, I make a warm herbal tea, chamomile, or a blend with valerian root, and pair it with a mindfulness practice. Maybe it's reading something uplifting, listening to calming music, or just doing some deep breathing. By creating this wind-down routine, I was less tempted to raid the pantry. If I do feel hungry later, which happens sometimes, I go for something really light, like a piece of fruit or a few almonds. But honestly, most nights now, I'm satisfied because I've nourished myself well throughout the day. I'm not eating out of boredom or habit anymore. I'm responding to my body with kindness and awareness. That shift, from reacting to cravings to intentionally choosing how to fuel myself, has been one of the most powerful mindset changes. Food isn't just fuel, it's a daily act of self-care. And that self-care doesn't stop with dinner. Something I didn't expect was how much my evening meals affected my emotional health. When I eat too heavy or too late, I wake up feeling anxious or foggy. But when I nourish my body properly, I feel grounded and at peace. It's like my nervous system gets the memo. You're safe, you're taken care of. There's growing evidence supporting this too. Gut health and mental health are deeply connected, especially as we age. Your gut produces over 90% of your serotonin, the neurotransmitter that helps regulate mood and sleep. So when you nourish your digestive system with real, whole foods, you're also supporting your emotional resilience. If you've ever felt down or irritable and couldn't quite explain why, take a look at your meals the day before. It's not always the full picture, but it can be a surprisingly strong clue. Now, I know that eating this way sounds ideal, but life isn't always predictable. Maybe you're caring for grandkids, juggling responsibilities, or simply exhausted. That's okay. You don't have to do everything perfectly. The key is consistency, not perfection. Start small. Swap out that evening soda for herbal tea. Add one more green vegetable to your plate. Choose baked over fried. These micro decisions compound over time, like interest in a health bank account. And if you fall off track, don't beat yourself up. One less than ideal meal doesn't undo all your progress. Just get back to your rhythm at the next meal. That's something I remind myself of constantly. What I've learned is that our relationship with food after 50 is less about restriction and more about awareness. When we eat with purpose, when we listen to what our body truly needs, we end up with more energy, better sleep, clearer minds, and even more joy. Next, in our final part, I'll share how I structure my mornings and evenings to stay consistent, a few surprising foods I avoid now, and how I stay motivated even when temptation knocks. I'll also leave you with some final takeaways you can act on right now. You've come this far, and that means you're already on a path to feeling better. If you've made it this far, let me just say, you're amazing. Because making time to think about how you eat, especially after 50, isn't just about food. It's about honoring your body, your energy, and your future. And that deserves real credit. So let's quickly go over the key takeaways we've covered so far. We started the day with hydration and a nutrient-rich breakfast to get your metabolism going without spiking your blood sugar. Then we moved into a lunch that's balanced, satisfying, and supports stable energy all afternoon. Dinner? Light, calming, and anti-inflammatory to support sleep and reduce joint pain. And we talked about that sneaky late-night snacking habit and how awareness, not willpower, is your best ally. Now let me share a few extra little habits that help tie this all together. Things I personally do that might surprise you, but have made a big difference. One of them? I've stopped drinking with my meals. I used to always have a glass of water next to my plate. But then I read a study in Digestive Diseases and Sciences that explained how too much liquid during meals can dilute stomach acid, making digestion less efficient, especially important as we get older and naturally produce less of it. So now, I drink most of my water between meals instead, and it's helped my digestion noticeably. Another one, I almost never eat anything 3 hours before bed. I used to grab a snack around 9 or 10 just because it was habit. But once I shifted that cutoff time, my sleep improved significantly. No more bloated belly or restlessness. And I wake up clearer. Now, I know food routines can be emotional too. Sometimes we eat out of comfort, loneliness, or stress. And that's okay. You're not alone in that. But what helped me was giving myself other forms of comfort. A warm bath, a call with a friend, journaling, even stepping outside to feel the breeze on my face. These became my new snacks, but for the soul. And let's not forget, aging doesn't mean shrinking your plate. It means upgrading what's on it. I used to eat a lot of foods that I thought were healthy because they were marketed that way. Granola bars, low-fat crackers, diet soda. But then I started really reading ingredients. Many were filled with added sugars, artificial sweeteners, and ultra-processed oils. Now I keep things simple. Foods with 5 ingredients or less, ideally ones I recognize. Want one more unexpected food I avoid now? Artificial sweeteners. I used to think they were harmless, 0 calories, right? But studies, like one published in Nature, have shown that some artificial sweeteners can actually disrupt gut bacteria and glucose metabolism. I found that once I removed them, my digestion improved and my sugar cravings dropped. And speaking of cravings, what helps the most is eating enough protein and fiber throughout the day. When my meals are balanced, I don't go hunting for a cookie at 3 p.m. My body feels steady, and steady feels good. At the end of the day, it's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. That's what fuels real change. So what can you do right now? Maybe it's taking stock of your fridge and pantry, swapping out one processed snack for something whole. Maybe it's prepping tomorrow's breakfast tonight. Or maybe it's just pouring yourself a glass of water right now, because hydration is where it all begins. Small steps, big impact. That's how we build momentum. You know, a dear friend of mine, he's 72 now, once told me, when I started eating like I loved myself, everything else got easier. That stuck with me, because food isn't just nutrition, it's a message you send your body. Every meal says, I care about you. I want you to feel your best. So whether you're just starting this journey, or you've been at it for a while, know this. It's never too late to nourish yourself better. Every bite is a chance to support your body. Every meal is a fresh start. We'd really love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions for future topics or questions you want answered, Write to us in the comments below. We're here to help, and your input could inspire our next video. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on more practical tips for healthy aging. Here's to living your best life at any age, starting with what's on your plate.